They say familiarity breeds contempt, but sometimes the familiar can still surprise you. Shugborough Hall is our local National Trust property, a grand sweeping 18th century statement of arrival funded by honest piracy. It all started modestly around 1695 with William Anson building the first central block, replacing something older and even less ostentatious. But modest never lasts. The 1740s brought Thomas Wright throwing out those flanking pavilions like a man suddenly finding his elbows too close to his sides. A little nip and tuck from James Stewart around 1768, just installing the links to the wings, a mere adjustment before the real show began. The big money transformation into the neoclassical estate you see today was completed by Samuel Wyatt in the 1790s and early 1800s. He's the one who slapped on the new porticoed east front and that huge west-facing saloon. We've always found the hall a little boring and plain, maybe because of the use of paint and render to achieve an homogeneous finish. And the front and the rear don't quite match. The east front, the public face, the one meant for society and the architectural reviews, is the pure neoclassical statement by Wyatt. It's imposing, it's grand, it says we have arrived and we know our Palladianism. Even if those pillars are hollow and wooden. The rear facade, however, that faces the river and the private gardens, the area reserved for family leisure. It often retains more of the earlier, less strictly formal styles from the Thomas Wright period. The front is a uniform mask of fashion, but the rear is where the house's history, its successive layers of remodelling, is allowed to show. And how was it paid for? With stolen money, like so much of the British Empire. It all stems from Commodore George Anson. While his brother Thomas was busy planning garden symmetry, George was sailing the world and, critically, raiding Spanish ships. He returned with a fortune, a lovely pile of gold essentially, which Thomas then cheerfully spent on creating this tasteful paradise. It's the ultimate legacy of naval plunder, a very big upmarket house, and right by the back runs the River South. The autumn is just starting to creep in, a few splashes of yellow and russet across the canopy, pretending to be as ancient as the architecture. And the inhabitants, see those ducks down by the water's edge? They carry on, utterly unconcerned with the fact that their habitat was paid for by the spoils of war, and further along the stately swans moving with that absurd self-important grace. They make the best use of this estate, don't they? No mortgages, no taste to acquire, just perpetual tax-free elegance on the water. Who was responsible for this sweeping vision of rural perfection? Thomas Anson, the first Lord Lichfield. After inheriting his brother's immense fortune, he didn't just build a house, he made a world. He used architects like Wright to scatter follies, those whimsical little structures across the park, a fashionable little bow to George's exotic travels. Thomas lived a lavish lifestyle, entertaining on a grand scale and gambling excessively. This resulted in mounting debts that led to his financial collapse in 1842. To settle the family's debts, the entire contents of Shugborough Hall were sold in a 2-week-long auction. The first Earl's successors, the second and third Earls, worked to restore the family's finances and refurnish the house, but still a large mortgage remained on the estate. Following the death of the 4th Earl of Lichfield in 1960, the estate was transferred to the National Trust to pay death duties. The Anson family was permitted to retain private apartments within the hall, which became home to trendy 60s photographer and cousin to the Queen, Patrick Lichfield. After his death in 2005, the 6th Earl decided to relinquish the lease on the private apartments, ending the family's 400-year connection with the estate. All that pride, piracy and extravagance leaves us, the public, with a special place. The hall itself seems more interesting when you know about the corners cut by posh architects of the time, and the landscape has settled into a gentle elegance aided and abetted by the ducks and swans, of course.